Determination of the Buddha. The Dhamma which practiced to Trully Enlightenment, Theratit Thong Lak, extracted from the origin teachings of the Buddha, printed in public permission by T.G. 2010, pp. 20-25. Buddha's teaching. With this Dhamma I have true enlightened. Let me reverence, worship, and live in accordance with this Dhamma. Note: above is the teaching of the Buddha. So with the Dhamma he was determined and assertive, so sure, I have true enlightenment. I would like to say to you, the Buddha would recommend to us the Dhamma which he practiced and attained true liberation, which is the morality, concentration, wisdom, sila, samadhi, wisdom. Why do I say that the practice sila, samadhi, wisdom? Dear friends, let basis of the testament on the will of the Buddha and the Eightfold Path. It is the noble truth cessation suffering. The noble truth of cessation suffering is one out of four truths of Buddhism. It is a Dhamma, or in other words it is an unchanged program of education and training, a teachings of the true liberation practice, mastering birth, aging, sickness, death. No one has the right to change. It is the way which leads us to the full liberation. It is a map showing the way in which we move forward without fear astray. It is the education and training program for whom to have a moral life, live a life not suffer himself, not suffer others. Thanks to that, we reach the ultimate goal, mastering birth, aging, sickness, death, and terminate reincarnation. Now, there are a lot of pagan practice come into Buddhism. It makes us do not know how to distinguish the really teachings of the Buddha. If there is not the noble truth cessation suffering, we do not know what is the really cultivation practice of Buddhism. Fortunately the Buddha was lucid. When Buddhism first days appeared, he had predicted in the future pagan will submerging and destroy Buddhism by mixing Buddhist Dhamma and with his teachings, blended them together. Buddhists difficult to distinguish right and wrong teachings. Therefore, the first teaching of the Buddha called turning the Dhamma wheel. It is the Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths are truths of Buddhism starts from here. Making people know the mankind fate, knowing the world view and human of how right and wrong, based on education and on training the moral of the cause and effect programs, the noble truth cessation suffering. There are 8 classes. They divide into 3 levels: sila, samadhi, wisdom. 1. From right view to right effort is the first stage sila practice. Vinaya practice phase has curriculum studied belonging 4 right efforts. 4 right efforts include the free of desires concentration, mindfulness concentration, and mindfulness of breathing concentration. Mindfulness of breathing concentration include 18 heading practice. 2. Right mindfulness is the second stage of the sila. It studies on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. 4 foundations of mindfulness includes 2 classes. 4 foundations of mindfulness practices on 4 foundations of mindfulness and 4 foundations of mindfulness practices on the mindfulness of the body and the body. 3 class of right concentration is third stage practicing on the concentration. The right concentration has a other name is 4 holy concentration include 1. First jhana, 2. Second jhana, 3. Third jhana, 4. Fourth jhana. When a person already entered the 4th jhana, that person immediately has wisdom, sangming, not to practice. Why so? We listen carefully to the teaching of the Buddha, sila having concentration, concentration having wisdom to avoid a fishing heresy. Thus, the practice of Buddhism are clearly defined. It cannot be mixed or blended into pagan cult. Since Buddhism is an education and training program to be a virtue human, to be a saint. Yet, teaching of Buddhism today is a whole pagan teachings. How strange. Education and training program no longer exists. It is messy project curriculum, not in order. Triptak is just a scratchy. Vinaya is not defined clearly. Moral virtue, moral living, moral application. Abhima is a argument about heaven and earth. The practitioners do not know the road, seem as they are lost in a deep forest. Looking at Mahayana and Zen teachings, we must have both startled and admired the Brahmin patriarchs. They are really great ingenuity, putting their teachings into the teachings of the Buddha, that all laypeople and Buddhist monks, they are literated people, those of them qualified doctors, but no one knows that. Until today, if I failed to practice the teachings of the Buddha, 1,000 lifetimes nobody speaks out this wrong. The ingenious expedient of this highly sophisticated, turning Buddhism into Brahmanism that no one knows. Moreover, Buddhists who, even abetting the Brahmins, make losing way, make the true education and training programs of Buddhism been losing but no one noticing. It was heartbreaking, is not it, my dear friend? Dear friends, the Buddha's teachings help people practice so great deliverance. But now, looking at Buddhist monks, there are nothing. Buddhist monks are only the Brahmin priests. They live in violating sila, breaking the sila, broken the sila. Thinking of this, I am deeply sympathy for the Buddha who sacrificed his life, leaving the enthusiastic teachings for the later followers. Yet now there's nothing, no how. My dear friends, only a linguistic to make name and benefit at their lips to scam people, living on tears, on the expenses of them. It is sad, is not it? When the Buddha finished practice and found true liberation, he used these teachings and actions, kneel down, prostrate the teaching, very sincere and loving humans in the deep heart, let me reverence, worship, and live in accordance with this Dhamma. This teaching caused me a profound trust. This teaching makes my heart shaken before boundless love of good Father. Today, I finished practicing, rereading these teachings. I could not hold back emotions of my tears because thinking of love the of Buddha as the sun, as ocean. The love cannot take anything that compared. Musician even compared the love of mother for her children as the Pacific Ocean. The heart of mother loves her child as immense as the Pacific Ocean. But the compassion of the Buddha being brought for marine, though the comparisons could not comparable. The Buddha reverence, bowed his head and live in accordance with this Dhamma, makes us never forget this favor. Do not forget this favor. We must always remember to sila, samadhi, wisdom. Only sila, samadhi, wisdom helps us to master birth, aging, sickness, death and reincarnation termination. Only practice morality, concentration, wisdom. Sila, samadhi, wisdom, makes us no longer afraid of the wrong practice, lost in the pagan. Out of sila, no teaching of pagan could teach us to the true liberation. Oh my dear friends, you are grateful the Buddha, so you go ahead and point out what is right, what is wrong in the teachings of the Buddha. You point out what is not true of the Buddhist precepts, then Buddhists reorganize. It is you've paid off gratefulness to the Buddha.